Carolyn Dube here, and today I'm playing with UTEE and I'm making all these great little charms. Well, I'm going to show you how I did it from start to finish. So what I've got here is the melting pot and the molds that I got from Carrie McKnight Holbrook. I've got some wire cutters. I've got the white ultra thick embossing enamel and the flex. Well, what I'm going to do before I heat this up, so the pan is cold right now, I'm going to put 4 scoops of the white UTEE in there, and then I'm going to put the lid on it, I'm going to plug it in, the little lights will come on, and I'm going to let it heat up. Once this stuff is completely melted, then we'll come in and add the next step. While I'm waiting for the UTEE to melt, I am going to make the little wire hooks. Now originally I'd planned on using this big huge jumbo wire, and that was just way too big. So I went and found some smaller wire. And what kind of wire is this? Well, I don't know. This is crafty wire. I am not a fine jeweler. None of this is fine jewelry supplies. I'm just having fun making some charms or things I'm going to dangle off a necklace. So I am using some round nose pliers there, and they're called round nose because, well, the 2 ends of it are round. And I'm going to put the wire in it. I'm holding it in tightly, and then I am just going to bend that wire right around the white part. So basically I'm making the hook, or what would be the loop that is going to go at the top of my charm. And then all I'm going to do is twist the wires together like I'm twisting a twist tie, you know, on like a bag of bread, that kind of thing. And that's just to make sure that my circle stays a circle. Then I've got this piece here. Obviously, this is going to be just a little funny shaped if it's turned that way, because when I put it on there, it's turned the wrong way. Well, never fear, that's easy. I'm going to put it back into the plier, and I'm just going to give it a little turn. Using the pliers really makes this easier. And so now I've got my hook here, but let's have a moment of reality. That thing is huge to fit in something little like this. So all I'm going to do is trim it down. So I'm just going to cut it off so it fits, so it'll easily fit within whatever mold I'm going to use it in. The other thing I like to do, because I am really rough on things and jewelry, is things get yanked out and pulled out pretty easily. I am also going to make sure that I bend up the wire just to give me every possible way to make sure that this thing is embedded in there and is not coming out. And so now I've got my little eyelet hooky thingy bobber that I'm going to put at the top of each one of these charms. And for a larger charm, you can obviously have a bigger one. For a smaller charm, you're going to want a smaller one. So when I checked on this, it was smoking a little bit. I guess I'd let it cook a little too long, and there seems to be a little bit of brown happening. I have no idea if I've just burnt this or not, but I'm just going to find something and I'm going to stir it up. And somewhere I actually have the little spatula that goes with this, but of course, was it within arm's reach right now? So, oh well, so be it. In comes a craft mat, because when working with hot sticky things that get melty, it's probably a good idea to have a non-stick mat down there. I'm going to add 2 scoops of the flex stuff, and this keeps things from being too brittle or breakable. I have a patience issue, and just watching stuff melt is, well, rather slow and painful for me, so I keep messing with this to mix it up. And while I'm finishing stirring this all up, I will say that on the bottle of the UTEE Flex, it says flexible additive that makes UTEE more durable. So that's why I'm adding that, because if I'm making jewelry, I don't want something that's brittle, so I'm calling that sort of more flexible, but it's not flexible like bendable in the case that I'm using, in case that wasn't clear as mud. Anyway, so it's all melted, and now I'm ready to start pouring it into the molds. So the pan has these great handles on it so that you can grab something without getting burnt. But by the way, everything else here is really hot, so watch what you're touching. And I am holding this way up high, and I'm going to dribble this in. I'm going to hold it up high so that I get this very thin dribble that I can control. If I'm too close to it, it just kind of all goes pouring into it. And it's near impossible for me to control, and I make a huge mess with it. So this way I've got little dribbles coming in. When I've got the mold filled, then I'm going to grab one of my little hook things, and I'm just going to stick it in the head. Just be aware that as soon as the metal hits the hot UTEE, it gets really hot too, so watch what you're touching. And I've got little bits in there. I know I didn't get enough in that foot, so I am just going to drop a couple drops in there and see what happens with that to try and fill in some little cracks and parts that I missed. And then it's a matter of just letting this cool off. You really don't want to touch this stuff when it's hot, because it does burn, and yes, that is the voice of experience. So I'm going to set this aside and let it cool off. So now I'm going to do it with the bird. I'm going to hold it way up high, and the reason is I'm holding it up high just so I can get a fine stream, but of course kind of aiming where that fine stream of very hot liquid's going to go takes sometimes some eye-hand coordination. I don't always have, but that's okay because this is really forgiving and I'm going to show you how to clean up any kind of mistakes like that. So once you've got it filled in, and you can fill the mold as high or as low as you want depending on what look you want. So I've got that in there, and then I'm going to take one of the metal pieces and put it in there. And once I've got that in there, then I just need to set it aside and let it cool off. Now, working with this stuff is incredibly forgiving, and I'm going to show you on this little mold that I've got here of this little frozen Charlotte doll from Carrie McKnight. So as I put this, I pour it in, everything's going great. I'm really happy with how this is going. That mistake of that dribble over there, not a problem. That's really easy to fix. And now I'm putting the hook in, but it's not going quite the way I want. And I'm trying not to burn my arm on that. By the way, I did not burn my arm on that, but I also can't really seem to figure out what I'm doing. So I keep fiddling with it, and in the process of how I go about this, and it's all getting hot. So I'm kind of pulling off a little bit of that piece, and look what happens. I end up ripping it. It's going to mess it up. Well, this stuff is extremely forgiving. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to rip the hook out while everything is still warm and gooey and that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to dump the excess pieces of it, but not the hook. The hook will stay over there. I don't want to put a metal hook in there. But what I am going to do is then just take this sort of oops one. Man, that hook just keeps grabbing onto everything. And I am going to dump that ultra thick right back in there. It's going to melt back in, and I haven't lost a thing. So extremely forgiving. Well, you've seen me make a couple of these, and now I'm going to show you what you do when you take them out of the mold. What I'm doing there was testing to make sure it wasn't still runny or gooey, because if it is, it's too hot to handle, and which means I'll burn myself again. So what I've got here is he's got little strings, you know, those imperfections, those oops, those mistakes that happen there. Then you just trim them off. While he's still warm, it's really easy to trim them off. So I was using the wire cutters there because that'll give me a very flush cut. Or you can grab a pair of scissors and just use those to trim up any areas that you want. So anywhere that I have a glob, a spill, a mess, scissors make it really easy to trim it up. And I'll show you another one that is warm but is completely hardened so that it won't burn my fingers. It's warm but it's not hot. Remember I had that big glob up at the top that was the oops, the mistake, and I've got those cool little fine lines coming off of it too, kind of like little spider webs. Well, scissors just cut them right off. Of course, if I can get my hands up on camera. So I'm just trimming them up with the scissors, and that glob that's up on the top, again, while this stuff is nice and sort of a lukewarm, it just comes right off very easily with scissors, and I get these wonderful clean edges. So now that I've got these made, the next step is I'm going to turn them into necklaces, dangles, charms, something like that. And I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet, but when I play with them, you know I'll be videotaping it, and you know I'll be sharing that video. And if you get yourself subscribed to my YouTube channel, you'll be sure to see it when it comes out. And if you stop on over at my blog at acolorfuljourney.com and check out the blog post that accompanies this video, you can find links to everything that I've used in the video. Well, thanks for watching, and thank you for being a part of this colorful journey.